Hi, I'm Jeff Sheets for Disc Dog University. Let's look at how to judge the line when you're playing toss and fetch. Now, sometimes you'll hear someone say, the lines are your friend, but in another format, maybe the lines are not your friend. So what does that mean? Well, when you're playing Canine Frisbee Toss and Fetch League, the lines are your friend. Now, sometimes you'll have a painted line on the field, but often in league, you'll have just cones out there with no actual painted line. You just have to judge that and imagine that there's a line between those cones and judge it as accurately as you can. So let's look at how we deal with a line that is your friend. So if this is the 2-point zone, I'm throwing that way, and this over on this side of the line is the 3-point zone. If this line is friendly, that means if the dog is here and can straddle this, I'm still going to get scored in the 2-point zone. But if the dog is here and catches the disc here with their back foot on the line, they get the 3-point zone score. So basically you can think of it as the line is part of the higher scoring zone. So as long as we're out of this lower scoring zone and we're here or past it, we're going to get the higher point value. When we're dealing with out of bounds in Canine Frisbee Toss and Fetch League, basically the line is very friendly. So if your dog catches the disc like this, if this is inbounds, this is out of bounds, but if they catch it here, they're inbounds. Even 1 foot on the line, they're still inbounds, right? The other thing to remember is it's where the dog finally makes the catch, not where they take off from. So if we're back to our 2-point and 3-point zone, if the dog is here, but they make a leaping catch and they jump here and they don't land until they get clear over here, they're going to get 3 points. They're going to be in the higher point zone. So it's where the dog lands. It's the same thing if they tip it. It's where they finally make the catch. So if they tip it here and they tip it across the line and catch it here, all the way across the line, or even with a foot on the line, they're going to get the 3-point zone. The other line we'll talk about is the foot fault line. That means when you're throwing from here, throwing that way, you cannot step on or over the line before the disc leaves your hand. So when you start your throw, you want to make sure you're behind that line as you release the disc. Now, once you release the disc and it's out of your hand, you can step over and follow through. That's fine. You can cross the line after you've thrown. But if you step on the line before that, it's a foot fault, and that throw's points will not count. In Skyhoundz rules, the line is not your friend. That means that if this is the 2-point zone and that's the 3-point zone, even if your dog catches it here with their paw on the line, that will go back to the previous zone. So they have to be all the way across. Likewise, if this is out of bounds, I'm inbounds here, out of bounds over there, 1 foot on the out of bounds line means the dog is out of bounds in Skyhoundz. So in Skyhoundz, definitely the line is not your friend. Let's talk for a minute about how to judge the lines. When you're a line judge, whether you're keeping score or the other line judge, and we'll talk a little bit about being a foot fault judge as well. So if I'm judging this line here, and this is the 3-point zone, that's the 2-point zone, someone's throwing from there, I want to make sure as a judge that I clearly signal where that catch was made. And when we're dealing with an in-air bonus, I want to make sure I clearly signal that it was an in-air bonus. So a couple things about that. Make sure you don't get too crazy with your motions out here when the dog is out here, because you don't want to distract the dog. So what I like to do is if the dog jumps and catches here, I wait until they turn around and get started back there before I signal. So once they do that, I want to definitely signal it was over here and it was an in-air bonus. So you give them a clear definition there. If it wasn't an in-air catch, I'll use both hands and go down over here. But as the thrower, you want to see where the judge is saying that disc was caught, right? If it was here and short of the line, you may have to throw a little farther to try to get it all the way over here. So if a judge is out there and just writing down and not telling you where it is, it's very difficult to see what you're doing and know basically what you scored, right? So as a judge, it's important to clearly signal whether a disc was on this side of the line, caught on this side of the line, or on this side of the line, right? So you're gonna go here or here, and then the in-air bonus. And if it's not a catch, make sure you clearly signal no catch. If you do that, it makes things so much easier. And if you're the second judge out there, it really helps the person scoring get a clear idea of what you saw and what you thought that catch was. That makes it so much better for the competitor and the other judges. If you're judging the foot fault line, here's a couple tips. If they step on the line or over the line, it's a foot fault. Make sure you raise your hand so the scorekeeper can know, but also keep track of what throw that was so you can go to the scorekeeper afterwards and make sure they realize throw number 2 was a foot fault, so that one shouldn't count. Now, what I like to do when I'm judging the foot fault line is if the competitor starts to get close as they're releasing their disc, I will tell them, hey, you're getting really close to the line, you might want to back up a little bit. If they keep getting closer and closer, I let them play, and if they step over the line, then you've given them fair warning and you've tried to tip them off. The best way to get someone to not foot fault is to call a foot fault on them, because usually that's enough to make them not want to do that again. If you're judging the in-air bonus, remember, it has to be where the dog is making the catch and all 4 feet are off the ground. So not in stride, just kind of running, but all 4 feet off the ground in a jumping motion. That's usually easy to see, but the one time that it sometimes tricks judges is when the dog stops and they raise their front end up and catch the disc, but their back feet never leave the ground. So that's not a jumping catch, right? They do not have all 4 feet off the ground. But sometimes it looks like it because they'll go up and they'll catch it and then they turn right around and go, but they never jump off the ground. So that's something to be aware of. But it's a judgment call. You have to judge it the way you see it. If the dog is clearly making a jumping motion to catch the disc, then they're going to get the in-air bonus. So those are just some basic tips about judging the line in toss and fetch.